Greetings and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about the biggest green flag that you can find in somebody, at least in my opinion. I know that we spend a lot of time, and absolutely rightfully so, talking about all the red flags that exist today because it's pretty much like everywhere you go, people are just a walking red flag. And you could go down the list of all the different things and the ways this bears itself out. And I've talked about this on other videos. So we know after you deal with a narcissist how many red flags there really were, how many we swept under the rug, how many we didn't even recognize. And now we know that you just can't tolerate red flags, especially glaring red flags. But what we don't talk about a lot are green flags, and specifically the biggest green flag. So, what is the biggest green flag in a person that I can think of? Meaning, green flag meaning it's good to go. Go ahead, full bore ahead, like a green light at a stoplight. Go ahead, good to go. In my opinion, the biggest thing you can look for, the biggest positive green flag, ready to go aspect in another person is that they are good on their own. They can be good alone. They can be good truly single. And I don't mean today's standards of single, where you're dealing with a bunch of different people and dating around and talking to him and her and blah, 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 blah. I mean, you're actually authentically on your own. There's no one in your life romantically. If you come across a person like that you are attracted to physically and spiritually, you may have just hit the jackpot. You may have just hit the jackpot. And I mean this literally. So while I'm thinking about this, let me first put a disclaimer. I'm not saying that if you want someone in your life that you have a problem. I'm not saying that there aren't people who have physical issues. Of course, people have physical problems sometimes where they need to be with someone. They need a caretaker or they need their spouse. That's not what I'm talking about. And if you are at a place where you're very, very lonely in your life and you just really desperately want somebody, I'm going to get to that later, but it doesn't make you a bad person. I've been there before too. When I thought, oh man, I just gotta have somebody. I just gotta find somebody. I've been there. So disclaimers: this does not make you a bad person. I'm not talking about these situations. So don't take this personally, okay? But what I'm saying is, if you think about all the positive things, more or less, that encapsulate somebody that you would want in your life as a spouse or romantic partner, they are all under the umbrella of being good on your own. Put it a different way, someone who is good on their own, completely authentically fine to be single. Maybe they're open to a situation, they're open to meeting somebody, but they day in, day out don't have it, don't need it, don't pine for it. They're just living their life, they're on their path. They exhibit a lot of other things, I guarantee you. Let me just spitball some. Somebody who can be totally good on their own, I guarantee you, has put a lot of work into themselves. A lot. Introspection, thinking about their life. Who do they want to be? Forming their own identity. Healing from previous relationships and situations, because most people have had a previous relationship or multiple. Most people have, especially by the time you get into your late 20s, 30s onward. They've probably put the work in to assess what went wrong, whether it was their fault or not. Probably wasn't, but what went wrong? What part did I play in it? What could I have done better? Maybe you were 90% in the right. They were 90% of the problem. You were 10% or less. Maybe it was less than that, but you assessed the 10% or you assessed the 5%, or even if it was 1%. Like, in all fairness, and I'm only speaking for the narcissistic relationship, I did almost nothing wrong. It was maybe 1%. I don't know. Some of you guys can attest because they're the problem. But even that 1% ish, what did I do wrong? Was I insecure? Truly? Was I actually? Was I actually too needy? What could I have done differently? Should I have said these things? Should I have done these things? At least you're thinking about them. I guarantee you, as someone who's really authentically good on their own, has had all these inner dialogues and discussions in their mind. And you can go to an extreme with it. Nobody should be going to extreme where you pick yourself apart forever. But I'm saying you have really put some serious time into assessing who am I, how am I behaving, what sort of partner, what sort of spouse, husband or wife am I, or was I, or would I be? That person who can be good on their own has put a lot of work into answering these questions. I guarantee it. I just guarantee it. This comes part and parcel with being good because people who can truly spend significant time single, and I'm not talking about a couple of months, I'm not talking about 6 months, I'm talking about probably at least a year or longer. Right now, personally, I was single for about a year after my divorce before I met the narcissist. And since the narcissist, I've been single for about 2.5 years. Gone on a couple dates, but I've been single that never became things. So, and not even getting into the quality of the people, because one of the people was a good person, and there's just other factors. So, I'm talking about significant time on your own. Those people who have done that and can do that have had all of that time to introspect and to heal. This is why, guys, it is a terrible idea. It's an awful idea, I'm sorry, to be in a relationship with somebody and for have that to end, whether you ended it or they ended it, and then be with another person seriously pretty soon after that. You need many, many months, at least many, many months. Because if you're not doing that, you didn't take time to introspect and heal and assess where you're at. So, yeah, those people put a lot of time and effort in. It also shows you that the person has balance in their lives, that they have other passions, other pursuits. Their life does not revolve around having a significant other in their life. I made a video a long time ago about something to do with the fact of having somebody is not everything or the most important thing, something like that. Because we are sort of been bred and raised into a society through Hollywood and Disney and songs and stories and everything else where you are only complete if you have somebody. You just gotta have somebody in your life, and usually in this sort of fairy tale, unrealistic way. We're bred to believe that, but that's not the truth. The purpose of life is not to have someone in your life. Now, were we made to were we made as part of it to be in communion with a husband and a wife? Yes, we were. That was God's intention. But his intention was not that you needed to have somebody to complete your life and you could not be good without it. That's not his intention. And today, in the society we live in, we're finding those people you're genuinely physically and spiritually attracted to, and vice versa, is so difficult. It's all the more true today. So there's balance. The person has probably passions. They probably have some good friends that they do things with. They probably have some family that they see or do things with. And and maybe kids even. But most importantly, they are good by themselves to sit back in an evening at their own home and watch television for a while or go for a walk or go fishing. These people can go on trips by themselves. I've done it and enjoy the heck out of it. It's great. You have balance. Your life is not predicated on someone else filling that. Because if that's how you are, if you're predicated on someone else completing you and filling your life, then you have way too much, you're putting way too much on that person. And what happens if they're not there anymore? It shows fundamentally, and I'm not making fun of anybody, because again, I've been there. It shows fundamentally you have something missing in your life. So these people who can remain single and truly single alone for extended periods of time without having to be dealing with anybody, they have exhibited balance. Because I guarantee you, they're probably working, they're probably taking care of their household, maybe they're raising some kids, they're probably going out and participating in certain things, whatever they'd like to. And they don't sit back and just pine and pine about how sorrowful and how bad life is because I don't have anybody. If only I had somebody, life would be perfect. They know that life is about more than simply having a significant other. That adds value to your life tremendously. It can if it's the right person. Most people aren't today. It adds value, but it doesn't make you whole and complete. You should be that already. And it's about the kind of partner you bring in. You're not going to come in, if you're whole and complete on your own, you're not going to come in needy. You're not going to come in with that energy where you need that person to constantly be there and you're insecure and where are they? And that's frankly the way the narcissist makes you feel. They make you that way. I became that way with the narcissist. I didn't enter it that way. Far from it. I was really nice and overly, like basically healthy, good on my own. I didn't need to text her all the time. I didn't need to see her all the time. As it went on, they make you insecure by their practices. And you got to heal from that. You got to shake that neediness that they make you have, that codependency. Because that's another thing it shows. You are, at least to some degree, minor or major, you're a codependent if you can't be good on your own. It's not healthy. And codependents, guys, especially bad codependents, I mean people who are just desperately lonely, where finding someone is their mission in life. Nothing is good and satisfying without having that person. You need stability of the other person. They need to prop you up. You need. That's called codependency. That is not healthy. That's bad. And you should not want to be with somebody who's codependent because they will make your life miserable in a lot of ways. I've seen it. I know people who are deeply codependent who are not narcissists but do very similar things because they're so desperate and needy for the person's attention and affection and time. If you got somebody on your hands that can be good on their own for an extended period, they're not codependent. They can't be codependent because they're proving it for months, maybe even for years. They're also probably, and this is not always the case, but I think that there's a connection 90+% of the time. Someone who can be completely good on their own probably has a relationship with the Lord. Most likely. Again, nothing is an absolute, but usually they do. Usually they know that the Lord sustains them. He is their foundation, their rock, not another person. The Lord is. And the Lord might add to them an individual to help their life, as a helper, as a support, as a companion in Him. Not so that the person now finds their completion and fulfillment in another, but that they're already that way and God has added someone as a gift, as a blessing to your life if He wants to. And He can if He wants to. Which let me say real quick, because this has been on my mind too. For those of you who are good on your own, but you do wonder sometimes, well, why don't I have anybody? Or will I ever have anybody? Or anything? Just know this. If you have given your life over to God and His will be done truly, you truly said, Lord, whatever you want for my life, and I'm just going to live in it. Whatever is going on in your life, it should be. If God wanted you to have somebody right now, you would. If you've really submitted to Him, I mean truly, not kind of, not fake, because we've all been there, really done it. If you were supposed to have somebody right now, you would. So don't worry. Don't worry about it. If it's ever meant to happen, it will if you're fully and submitted to the Lord. But people who can be good on their own, they're a diamond in the rough. Because we live in a culture where people just go boom, 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 boom. Usually today, they're dealing with many people simultaneously, dating many people simultaneously, talking to others. They're all single, but they're involved with so many individuals. That's not power and strength. That's not true singleness. You're just in a bunch of mini quasi entanglement situationships. That's that's the farthest thing from being good on your own. It's laughable how many people were like, "I'm single, I'm independent, I'm single," and I'm talking to five guys and I'm going on dates with them and I'm hooking up, but I'm single. What a joke! That's embarrassing. Those are the most needy people. But that's the culture today. So if you find somebody who you actually know, that person, I'm pretty sure they're not with anybody and they're just living their life. Like they're not dating anybody. They're just living their lives day in, day out, doing their thing, and they seem good. Very, very rare. But let me tell you, you probably got a winner. I've thought about this long and hard. This is why I think it's the biggest green flag. You got a person who is secure in themselves, who probably values themselves, who is introspected, healed, has their life in order. They're taking care of their affairs. They're running their household. If they have kids, they're raising their kid or kids. They're probably working. They're putting bread on the table. They might be saving. They're building their life up. They're probably growing in their faith and in their relationship with the Lord. They're finding passions in life to fill them up. They're not needy. They're not codependent. That is a diamond in the rough. And guys, I do know of a few people. Let's just say I don't have direct access to them. I know them, but maybe they live a little far away. Or maybe, it's just not organically happened. Whatever the case. But I know of them. And I know that they've been single for a year, two, maybe even three or four. And they take care of their affairs. And they're upstanding. Those people do exist. They're maybe 1 in 100. I don't know, maybe less than that. But they do. And let me tell you, at least for me, every time I do see that and I know of people like that, because you might say, well, if you know people like that, why don't you just reach out to them, Brian? Well, there's a few reasons. One is I'm good on my own and I'm not going to force anything. Even though I know them, I don't know them that well. And so, I'm not going to force it. And there's other reasons. But I know that they're that way. And let me tell you something, that is the biggest turn on there can possibly be. And I'm not talking about, you know what I mean. I'm talking about that really gets me going to say that person, they're like me. They are living good on their own. They're somehow in the fray of this world, not dealing with a bunch of dudes or a bunch of women, in a female's case, looking for a guy. They're not dealing with a bunch of people. They're not probably been around the block. They probably don't have a wretched history. They're probably upstanding. If we ever really met and something happened between us, that would probably work. That is like, oh yeah, that person can just be good on their own. You know full well you're probably getting that needle in a haystack. That's your unicorn if you ever come across that. So guys, I want to close but say again, this is not a shot to people who are lonely. And it's certainly not a shot to people who physically need help. That's not it. But I used to be lonely too. I used to think I had to have somebody. But let me tell you something. You should aspire, as I did. I still aspire, continue to get this, to grow in this, to be so good, so whole on your own, that if anybody's going to find you, they're going to have to look to God to find you. You're so hidden in Christ. You're so in your path. You're so just living your life and content that your paths are going to have to merge organically. You're going to have to find each other somehow. And maybe that's by looking to the Lord. That's what you want to be. You want to be that kind of person. You're not bringing a bunch of baggage. You're not bringing insecurities and unhealed trauma. You're not bringing the things that you made mistakes maybe in the past with. You're not bringing this need, this craving to have somebody. You're not codependent. You're bringing in a healthy, stable person who's so good on their own, you don't need anyone. But with somebody, you're all the more strong. And that person's life is all the more better. You put two people like that together, you got a power couple that will probably stand the test of time in a world where very few do it. So I know it's a little different than the videos. I'm going to start doing some different things, guys, incorporating narcissism, but just some different things that are on my heart. So I hope you found this uplifting. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Biggest green flag in a person, they can be good on their own. So let me say real quick before I close, Charlie Kirk passed away today. He was, well, his life was taken. And I just want to tell you, whatever you stand on politics and everything else, whatever you think of Charlie Kirk, is an absolutely awful thing, a terrible thing. His loss, I think, will be on par with the loss of people in the past, like MLK Jr. That's that big. If you don't believe me, just wait and see. He was a huge figure, and at least for my part, even though I'm not very political at this point, and there are reasons for that, and I don't follow a lot of the news, and there are reasons for that, which some of you guys probably know. I always thought Charlie Kirk was an upstanding guy, from what I could tell. Does he have a secret life? Who knew? I don't know. But for all intents and purposes, by all appearances, I never heard him say a foul thing. He spoke a lot of truth, and he did it in the right way. So it's heartbreaking and terrible, and I just want to say that on a day like this when something of that magnitude happened. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Drop comments below. I'll come at you with another one soon. Until then, God bless.